right, so we got another Propaganda Central interview with another super lefty late night host. This time it being Seth Meyers with Biden. So last time Biden was on a show, he was with Kimmel, and I really went into that. Tried to support all my claims as in depth as I could. I think it was a 3-part thing. I don't want this one to be as long as that. I'm sure it will be, but regardless, let's take a look and debunk all the nonsense that they're saying.
Welcome back to Late Night. We're here with President Joe Biden. You mentioned some classified material, some documents recently leaked, some classified documents. And this isn't a gotcha show, but I do want to ask about it, that says you are currently 81 years old.
Who the hell told you that?
Yeah.
That's classified.
That's classified. All jokes aside, according to recent polling, this is a real concern for American voters. How do you address that concern going forward as you come up to the 2024 election?
Well, a couple things. Number one, you got to take a look at the other guy. He's about as old as I am, but he can't remember his wife's name.
Yeah.
And number one.
All right, starting out strong already. It's been 48 seconds, and there's already some dumb nonsense. So when they talk about, oh, the other guy's about my age, and he can't remember his wife's name. First off, this is a perfect example of, like, pot calling the kettle black or whatever that phrase is. Like, this idiot, Biden, has no place to be talking about somebody who's confused or anything, because he can't finish a sentence ever. He doesn't ever know where to go when it's time to get off stage. He doesn't keep his train of thought. Everything's always blah, 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 never mind, or whatever his ending phrase is. We'll see it a couple times in this video. So yeah, he has no place to be trying to talk about anybody else forgetting things. And if you want to relate it to the wives, there was that famous time where he was confused about his wife and his sister. Oh, oops, that's actually my sister, not my wife. Anyways, though, back to their claim about him being confused about Melania's name because he calls her Mercedes. Here's the reality, though. He was talking to, Trump was talking to the host or whatever, the organizer of the CPAC event or whatever it was that they're at, and her name was Mercedes. And if you actually took the time to watch the entire clip and get the full context of what was going on, you'd see that prior, not even too much prior to that, probably a couple minutes prior to that statement, he made a joke to this Mercedes woman, saying something like, if this event is a failure or something, we know who to blame, teasing her. And then when he was talking about Melania, he never said her name, but he was talking about her, saying stuff like, you know, a good first, what do they call it? First lady or whatever. And then people started to cheer because they obviously knew who he was talking about. And so then he said, oh, look, Mercedes, meaning because he just made a joke about if it was a failure, and yet here the people are cheering for his wife. Never mind. You know what I mean? Like, she's a secondary character, if you will, and they're all cheering for her. So he was just making a callback joke reference to what he said, saying, oh, never mind, I guess we're not going to have issues because everyone's cheering. Look at it. Everyone likes this. But no, these idiots go and take the clip completely out of context, and he can't even remember his wife's name. Yeah, because Trump has extreme dementia. Biden has note cards that tell him step by step, word for word, what he's supposed to do, say, who he's supposed to call on. He already knows the questions that they're going to ask and has the answers right in front of him. He has teleprompters all over the place, and he still screws up and can't properly give a speech. Where Trump goes up there and just freestyles the whole thing for 2.5 hours straight. But yeah, he totally has mental problems, right? Anyways, continuing.
It's about how old your ideas are. Look, I mean, this is a guy who wants to take us back. He wants to take us back on Roe v. Wade. He wants to take us back on a whole range of issues that are 50, 60 years. They've been solid American positions. And I really mean this sincerely. I think it's about the future. And every single thing we've done, I think we've got some good things done. Everything, and they told us we couldn't get them done because things were so divided. And but I think everything we've gotten done, he's just friendly stated he wants to do away with if he gets elected. And I really think his views on where to take America are older than, anyway, I don't want to get going.
Holy crap. In that 58-second clip, there was a lot to break down. I hope I remember it all. First off, he says something about how Trump wants to take us back. Two things to say about that. First, when he was talking, he says, Trump wants to take us back to values that have been held for 50, 60 years and have worked. And it's like, what are you talking about? So he wants to just keep running with systems that have been in place for 50 and 60 years and have been working great? Like, how is that a problem? Like they say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So what are you trying to say? You think that these systems should be broken so you can come up with new crappy things, which is exactly what you've done. Second, he says, oh, Trump just wants to undo everything that we've done, all the progress we've done, blah, 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 blah. Well, here's the thing. First off, don't forget, day one, you were in office, you did a ridiculous amount of executive orders, and a lot of them, actually all of them, were to undo everything Trump did. So again, pot calling the kettle black, or whatever that phrase is, you're accusing him of doing exactly what you did day one, or at least the first week in office. All your dumb executive orders that you signed. And then on top of that, anything good that Trump did, you wanted to take credit for. So you're like a double negative. You know, like the $35 insulin. He's always trying to brag about that. That was Trump. What are you talking about? Or the vaccine that works very well. That was Operation Warp Speed under Trump. But, oh, you get to take all the credit, right? Idiot. And then he's talking about Roe v. Wade again. Man, the Democrats and the lefties love talking about Roe v. Wade. And I don't understand why they're so hung up on that. First off, why is being able to kill babies such a huge priority to you guys? It's so weird when you really stop and think about it. Like, that's your whole platform? Oh, we need to get... They keep saying in Rovember. Like, that's their whole entire fucking thing is Roe v. Wade. So, one, why are you guys so hell-bent on killing babies? It's kind of weird. You have Mexican criminals flooding in the country and killing people, like we've had recently, a few individuals that still would be here if we had solid borders, but that's okay? But killing babies... we gotta cry about that it's not a federal government thing anymore. And the even dumber part, though, is this went down to the states level, which is exactly where it should be. That makes sense. It's weird for federal. You know, federal is supposed to be like the basis of a country. Why would abortion ever be like a fundamental basis of a country? Who cares about that? Now, states, yeah, that's where it belongs. This state allows it, this state don't. Okay, cool. So anyways, it's still a thing. They act like because the Supreme Court overturned it that it doesn't even exist anymore. Oh, we can't even get abortions if we want to. No, just go to a blue state. And again, chances are extremely high that these people that want to have abortions already live in a blue state anyways. So Roe v. Wade being killed doesn't even affect you at all. So what are you crying about? On another note, though, these people that cry the most about Roe v. Wade being overturned, it's severely ironic because you look like you get a very low chance of getting dick in the first place. You're usually pretty ugly, out of shape, hideous piercings, hideous hair color. I don't think you have much to worry about. You ain't getting pregnant. But anyways, getting back to a more serious note. And then they think that voting for Joe Biden again is somehow going to bring back Roe v. Wade. It's gonna be a federal thing again. He's been, unfortunately, the president for the last 4 years. It was overturned by the Supreme Court. Okay, he had nothing that he can do about that. What the fuck is another 4 years gonna do? Everyone thinks that magically, all of a sudden, Roe v. Wade's going to get overturned if Biden has 4 more years. No, it's not. We're going to have the same 9 justices on the bench, same everything. It's not going to get overturned because he's still the president if he wins again, which hopefully he doesn't. Like, how dumb do you got to be? If there was anything he could do about it, don't you think it would be done? You don't need to do it in the years of 24 to 28. You could have done it from 20 to 24. or more like 21 to 25, basically. But still, like, and that's the other thing too. They always try to talk about how, almost like make fun of Trump, that he like sees that as an achievement in his presidency, which it's fine. You know, I don't understand why Democrats see killing babies as so essential, and not wanting to kill them is bad. It's weird. But regardless, like, again, that's the Supreme Court. It's not even a Trump thing. He had no say in that. He can't have any say in it. He can't veto their decision to do that or whatever. It is what it is. The Supreme Court decided that. It got overturned. End of story. Like, how dumb do you gotta be? Anyways, though. Oh, and then I want to talk about that last bit. Exactly like I was saying. How he always trails off. It happened again. There it was. He is talking, and he's talking about Trump, and somehow, midway through a sentence, he just loses his train of thought. Here it is. And then he says, oh, never mind. I don't want to get into that. And all the retards in the crowd laugh and clap. Like, are you serious? What are you clapping for? For the guy that can't even keep his train of thought. And, like, he is here to be interviewed and be able to say his piece and give, like, I don't know, some insights into how the government's currently being run and stuff. He's the president. Don't you want to hear from him? And he loses his train of thought, and that's what you clap for? Seriously? Like, that should be a sign of concern for everyone. Not, oh, he forgot what he was talking about. Yeah. Like, what?
Bipartisanship, and that you could actually work across the aisle when you ran in 2020. I was one of the people who thought that was maybe a foolish proposition, but you have gotten things done. Infrastructure chips, Inflation Reduction Act, some gun safety. You even got an immigration bill that passed in the Senate but never got taken up in the House. And what would you want to do? What's your 2024 agenda? Because I feel like we live in such crazy times that is one of the things I feel we hear less about.
Holy crap, there was a lot of nonsense there. Man, I thought I was going to be making fun of Biden's responses the whole time, but geez, Seth just spewed a whole bunch of ridiculousness. So first off, he's talking about, well, one thing he says is the 2024 agenda. Who cares about the 2024 agenda? What about now? What was this supposed to be? Just a trial run? Hey, you don't actually have to worry about anything until 2024. That's when it matters. What? It's so weird that they just want to they just look forward to the next term that hopefully he doesn't get. But it's like, what's wrong with the term now? How about instead of worrying about the next term, how are you going to fix things now? Why do you want to wait another year, potentially, before anything actually gets fixed? And then he says, oh, everything's gotten so crazy in all this in recent times, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, that's due to your fucking party. Are you serious? I wonder why everything's crazy. Maybe because Biden's super divisive. Every single time he gives a speech, it's always, oh, those MAGA Republicans, blah, 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 blah. And let's not forget that speech that he did, the one that I was made fun of a little bit. Well, broke down a little bit. Never finished it because it was too long. But his blood red backdrop with the Marines in the background. Like, talk about Hitler-esque. Seriously. Then the wide open borders, extreme inflation. The list goes on and on and on. Why do you think there's problems? There's problems because of him. I mean, of course, the lefties will say it's somehow Trump, but no, it's this loser. He came in and destroyed the country. Anyways, but then the other thing is, in the very beginning when he's asking questions, he said, well, very beginning of this segment, he says, you know, you're one of the people that said that you could work bipartisan over the table, blah, 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 and get results. And I wasn't really a fan of that. I didn't think it would work. That's actually pretty dumb. Like, this is how it should be, is that everything's bipartisan. You shouldn't be just getting into the office and, oh, well, it's my turn to do this now. Everything I want to have happen is going to happen. What I say goes. That's not how this works. Politics is supposed to be that people are elected by the people. And they're elected based on platforms that they promise they'll run on. And changes and reforms that they promise to do. And all this. You don't just work for yourself and do whatever the heck you want to do. And as such, there's different types of people. Some people vote Democrats. Some Republicans. Some independent. And whatever gets the most votes, that's what wins. So now typically it's just Democrat and Republican, and these people are in the chambers of Congress and all that. And so, yeah, you got to work with them. Everybody should be working with each other, not just presidents trying to work with everyone, not just senators, everybody. Reps should be working together, senators working together, the Supreme Court justices working together. Like, at the end of the day, you need to put your politics aside and work together to do what's best for the country at the end of the day. So that's pretty dumb that Seth said, I don't think that was a good idea. No, it's the only option, dickhead. Because then otherwise what you end up with is an authoritarian type system. You have one person saying everything that's going to happen. And that's not a democracy, like they always want to talk about. And B, it's not a democratic republic, which is what we actually have. That's just one person getting up there, Kim Jong-un, and saying what's going to happen. So yeah, you should be working across the table. That's your only option. That's what you're elected to do. You are there to represent the people because they chose you to say what they think on their behalf, since everyone can't be in Congress. So you have the certain people there, and then the Congress people talk to their higher-ups, and those higher-ups talk to those higher-ups till you get to the president in the room of high enough up people that discuss things together. Like, that's dumb. Oh, I didn't think that would be a good idea. Really, Seth? Shut the fuck up.
2020 agenda is to finish the job. For example, we're now in a position where we have the strongest economy of any major nation in the world, number one. We got a way to go yet. Inflation is down, 880,000 manufacturing jobs. We have 14 million new jobs.
Okay, I don't really want to stop it so soon because I want to let them get through their segment and then break it down. But he said so much nonsense that I feel like I'm going to forget if I let it keep going. So let's see. One of the famous lines that they love to always talk about is, the 14 million jobs. I hate fucking hearing that. You did not make 14 million jobs. What had happened was you had illegal, forced stay-at-home orders that made it so that people who had jobs were not going to them. So essentially now they were vacated or lost. Then when all these COVID restrictions ended, everyone went back to work. So now those open jobs were filled by the people who fucking had them. They just went back to them. It's like if you dug a hole all day and then the next day you filled it in and said, I filled in the hole today. Well, you didn't do anything. It wasn't some random hole that you just filled in. You made a hole and then you filled it back up. So nothing's different. Nothing's gained and nothing's lost. There was a hole. The dirt was piled next to it. Now the dirt is back in that hole, thus no longer having a hole. You didn't create 14 million jobs. I mean, I think the real statistic is maybe 5 million, which still isn't bad, but it ain't no 14. Also, I hate how they try to talk about making all these jobs. You got this moron who's been an absolute failure in life in general. I mean, come on, look at his son. His son's a complete loser. He's been a plagiarizer. I'm talking about him now, Biden. A plagiarizer, a liar, extremely racist, a failure as a president now. Just constantly failing up, constant failure, achieved basically nothing. This guy's been in politics since the 70s. What has he done? Can anybody think of anything that he's done that was he did help work on this and blah, blah. No, he's done nothing. My point is you're going to act like you created all these jobs, but yet Trump, who is a businessman, okay? It's all he's all about is making jobs and making businesses and all that. You gonna tell me that you made more jobs than him? Really? Okay. And then he talks about, we have the best economy in the, what did he call it? In the industrialized world or something? Well, what context are you trying to say that in? Are you saying, because we might have a pretty high GDP, but we also have a ridiculous amount of debt that you love adding to. And that ain't no sign of power. If you want to talk about it from economic growth in a country that's growing, that would be India. They are absolutely killing it right now. And China's up there as well. I don't really know any others, but I know those are two top contenders. We are not growing at a rate they are. Now, granted, yes, they are much lower than us, so their growth isn't gonna overtake us. But if you want to talk about growth, they are exploding right now. And we're just kind of stagnant. If anything, you could say we're in decline because of all this debt that we're adding. Debt. Every single week is a new bill to waste money that we don't have. So yeah. What context are you saying that in, dickhead? Probably a gaslight type way to confuse everyone. And then, of course, he's talking about inflation. Oh, inflation's down. Down how? Okay? Are you talking about how it was at 9 and now it's at about 7 or 6? Well, it's still up 6 or 7. So it might be down a little, but it ain't anything significant. It's not like you got it back to mainline, so it's at 0 again, or even negative. It dropped from where it was when you took over office. It's still up. So be a little realer in how you talk. It's not anything good. Groceries are still ridiculously expensive. Everything's basically ridiculously expensive. I was just thinking about the other day. Practically every time I go out, stuff's cost me $60. No problem. $60-$70. And I think, man, I remember not too long ago, $100 was like significant. $100 felt like a lot. Now I'm dropping that on everything. I go to Walmart, $80 just to get a few supplies. Go to Target to buy something stupid for fun, $90. Like, but inflation's down. Yeah, from your all-time record high, but it's still up, moron.
Unemployment rate is the lowest it's been for the longest time. We're building wealth for people. But we have to do more. First thing I have to do is stop it from being turned around. For example, you talked about the border didn't pass. Well, guess what? We're going to pass that border. It's overwhelmingly supported by Republicans and Democrats in the House and Senate. But because, I don't know this for a fact, but I was told that Trump was picking up the phone, calling the Speaker of the House saying, don't let it pass. Why? Not because he doesn't think it's good, because it will benefit Biden. That's no way to run a country. That's no way to deal. We didn't, even when we had real divisions back when I was a young senator among Democrats and Republicans. That wasn't the way it worked.
All right, so first off, he's talking about building wealth for people. Where's this wealth supposedly coming from? Everybody's basically struggling now. You can't buy a house without it costing a ridiculous amount of money. You can't even really buy used cars anymore without costing a ridiculous amount of money. I remember when you could get a used car for, a few $1,000s and it was decent. Now, if you pay a few $1,000s for a car, it's an absolute piece of trash. Probably needs an engine and tires. You're just buying a frame for that much. So I don't know where you're building wealth. I mean, not to use stock market as like a reference point, but when Trump was in office, I had started investing in the market. I have 3 portfolios, and they were doing pretty well. The turnover was not bad per month. Now, turnover is pretty weak. Yeah, I'm still gaining, but it's not like it was before. And during those days, I had a little bit of money that was growing pretty fast. Now, I don't have a lot of money, but it's a lot more than it was those days, and it's growing slowly. So, what does that tell you? Oh yeah, building wealth for everyone. All right. Then, he's talking about how Trump supposedly called the speaker, what's his name, Mike Johnson or something, and said, don't pass the bill because it'll benefit Biden. Well, he says he doesn't know if that happened. I don't know either. But I can say this much. If he did call and said to not let that pass, it wouldn't be because, it benefits Biden. Because, let's use our brain for a second. What was Trump's number one thing that he kept talking about in 2016? Building a motherfucking wall. If there's anybody that cares about border security, obviously it's him. Like, don't be a bunch of idiots and act like he wants to sabotage the country and wants wide open borders and all this. That was his fucking whole thing. That and lock Hillary up. Well, locking Hillary up never happened, although it should have. But the wall happened. So anyways, if he called up, it's not because, it benefits Biden. It's because the crap that you put in the package. You make this package that goes to Congress, and it's not just to beef up, our internal security. It's, let's add in this much ridiculous amount of money more for Ukraine. We already haven't given them hundreds of billions of dollars. They need more. And probably nonsense to Israel and nonsense to here and nonsense to there. So yeah, Trump's saying, hey, pump the brakes. Fuck that. We're here to worry about the border, and that's it, not every other country. And then also, stop trying to pretend that you need to have support from Congress and all this to be able to pass something to secure the border. You don't fucking need that. All you gotta do is make that choice to make that happen. You just, hey, you know what? We're securing the border. We're gonna continue building the wall. We're gonna beef up ICE or whatever they're called, Border Patrol agents, BPA, I guess. We're gonna beef that up. And, yeah, we're going to get this border under control. That's all you got to do. You don't have to, I need Congress to sign off, and they're not doing it, and blah, blah, blah. Trump's trying to sabotage. It doesn't matter what anybody tries to do. It's up to you, idiot. Just make it happen. Stop making excuses. How do I know your job better than you do? Are you serious right now?
Look, I think, let me put, this is not your father's Republican Party. They got about 30% of the Republican Party controlling it all. And I think we're going to break it.
Oh, here we go again with that, not your father's Republican Party. I've only heard this 1.5 billion times. I've even made fun of this or commented on it in other videos I've made talking about this moron. So, yes, maybe the Republican Party is different than it was your father's. Let's talk about Reagan's days. Geez, probably between Nixon and Reagan, it's significantly different. And so, obviously, it's different today than it was those days, too. But if you want to talk about a party being different, the Democratic Party is nowhere near your father's Democratic Party. This party has shifted so extreme, radically left. Like, everything about it is just look at the people that support it. It's all the freaks with the weird color hair and ugly piercings and love killing babies and all this weird psycho nonsense where Republican Party is normal people like me. Look. Khaki-colored slacks, a nice light blue shirt, just normal, everyday people. I don't have weird haircut, no weird piercings, no tattoos. Normal guy. That's the Republicans. The Democrats are absolute freaks. And, think that they can just be like, you know what, I'm a woman. Just out of nowhere, like me. Hey, I'm a woman now. And, they're all like, oh, yeah, congratulations. And I think it's fine. And Dylan Mulvaney's a big hero to them. And so is Leah Thomas. Oh, she is breaking all these records and all this. The Democratic Party has gone so extreme radically left that it's shifted the whole political spectrum. Like, people that used to be slightly left are now considered slightly right, like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, quite possibly even Bill Maher. Bill Maher, if he is considered to be, very barely, if this is the middle ground, he's like this now. Very slightly right. But you got, Elon Musk, he used to be over here, now he's, over here. You have, who's the other guy? Joe Rogan. Same situation. Kind of would have been over here, now he's over here. Not because he actually fundamentally switched sides or anything, but because the spectrum, which used to be like this, is now, this, is now like this. But here's the Republican goalpost. It stayed in the same spot. But look, the Democrats shot way out. So now the middle ground used to be right in between there. Now it's right in between here. But, let's always talk about not your father's Republican Party and act like everything's totally fine with the dumb Dems. All right.
One of the things about this is not your father's Republican Party, it must be for somebody who's been doing this as long as you have, you can't get aid for Ukraine passed. And it seemed like for a long time, the American people agreed that Russia was the threat. And all of a sudden now you see a Republican Party that is basically refusing to aid Ukraine in their fight against. Seems like Donald Trump is saying Russia can do whatever they want to NATO countries. Are you shocked?
That's what he is saying. He's been saying it all along. He's been saying it when he ran the last time. Look, the idea that any American, think about this. If I told you all there was going to be an American president who said to Putin, come do whatever you want to NATO. If the other guys on our team don't pay up every single cent they promised to pay for.
All right, so let's break down all that bullshit. First off, complaining about, we can't get any aid to Ukraine. Oh, they're blocking it to give money to Ukraine. Ukraine's already gotten $200 motherfucking billion. That ain't enough? That ain't my problem. At the end of the day, that money was money that was stolen from all of our pay checks and everything. It's our money collectively for our country. That $200 billion could have went to a lot of good internally here, upgrading infrastructure. I mean, I don't know what else off the top of my head, but there's a lot of infrastructure that really could have been upgraded. I hear airports. I don't fly anywhere, so I don't know, but I hear airports here are like third world country equivalency. You could have used that money to upgrade the airports. You could make the roads better. Anything. But no, we go and throw it away to an extremely corrupt country that's, relatively speaking, worthless. I mean, what do they offer? Grains? Okay, you can find grains anywhere else. You don't need to go to just that one place. But no, because Dems are so in love with it, because, you know, they just, oh, Biden, oh, you're doing some money laundering? It's okay, we won't see it as that, oh. And then all of a sudden, because now you don't want to waste more money over in a different country, now you're the bad guy. Then they go on to talk about how, they're talking about Trump and, like, all his stuff that he did with NATO. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no reason why we should be footing everything like we've been all along. And these other countries are just kind of riding the coattails. Yeah, I want to be part of NATO. I won't contribute at all, though. So he was like, yo, you can contribute some more, or else we can contribute less. Because this isn't just an us thing. This is an us thing. Okay, just because our initials are us doesn't mean we want to be doing this all. So you can either pitch in like you're supposed to, or see ya, and you can figure it out on your own with no funding. I don't see anything wrong with that. Again, it's putting America first. Sorry, you don't understand what that means, Biden, and you want to put us last. And so that's why it becomes, what are we talking about here? In God's name. What? I can't understand why you'd want to put your own country as a priority over every single other country. What? I can't get it. Maybe for such a traitor, you would get it, stupid fuck.
Absolutely bizarre. And it's totally against our interest. And by the way, I've known every major foreign leader for the longest time, and I know all these guys extremely well. They're scared to death what it means for them. For them, what it means if we walk away. Madeleine Albright was right, the former Secretary of State. She said, we are the essential nation. We are the essential nation. We don't have people fighting in those areas, but we're providing the wherewithal for them to be able to protect themselves. And it's just outrageous what he's talking about.
He talked about how he wants to be a dictator on day one, but only day one. You are someone who has dealt with dictators over the years. It does seem as though democracy, in vague terms somehow, is not easy for us to grasp. Having dealt with dictators, what do you see in a world where democracy is actually at risk in a way it might be in this election?
Again, to touch on what Biden was finishing up on in the last portion of his clip, you know, he says, oh, these countries are worried about what happened for them if we pulled out. Again, we would be pulling out if they don't pitch in more. So that's not our fault. If you can't afford to be there, then that's whatever. It's your problem, not ours. At the end of the day, I don't understand why we constantly always worry about every other country and not just us. I've always wondered this my entire life. I always thought, why does the United States think it has to be involved in everything instead of just worrying about us? No other country does this. Every single other country is all about themselves, and that's it, not us. Hey, we gotta be involved in this for no reason at all, just because. Why? You don't have to be. Just worry about yourself. Stay in your own lane. Worry about your own country, your own world, your own everything. So anyways, yeah. Those countries that are scared about whatever, quite frankly, I don't care. That's not where I live. I live here. So I'm worried about what happens here and the bad stuff that happens here, like inflation going up and the national debt blasting out of proportion like it's been. I don't care about some random country that I don't even know because it's unnamed that might be scared if NATO dissolves or whatever, if we pull out of it. Then on to Seth being a complete idiot again. He says, talking about the thing about, oh, Trump says he'd be a dictator, but on day one only. Yeah, he did say that. But first off, he said it in like a joking context while talking with, I think it was Tucker Carlson. And he meant it with good intentions. Like, there's a lot of crap that needs to get fixed because, of course, Biden absolutely sucks and the country is terrible right now. So he was just saying, Trump was just saying that on day one only, he would be like, basically like a dictator and just fix tons of stuff That way then we can start getting on the right path and getting away from this disaster that we're currently in. And he made it clear, too, day one. So even if he straight up was a dictator for one day, it's one day. You'll be fine. Biden's been a dictator the whole entire duration of COVID. Like, relax. One day's nothing compared to a couple of years. And let's not forget, too, all his dumb executive orders right out the gate, too. That was basically dictatorial as well, but it's okay when you do it, right? Also, though, let's not be stupid. You can't have a dictatorship here. There's too many checks and balances. The Supreme Court can get involved. The legislative branch can get involved. That's the whole point. That's how this works. The executive can't just be like, well, I don't want to be part of this anymore. I want to be the dictator, so I'm the leader until I die. I'm going to appoint who comes after me, and yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. That's not how it works. So relax, stupid people. And then Seth goes on to talk about, oh, democracy, blah, blah, talking about democracy again, like they always do. Which is so dumb, because first off, we aren't a democracy. We're a constitutional republic, or something along those lines. Regardless, we are a country that's governed by a constitution. We're not a straight-up democracy, where it's governed by the people. Yes, there's some sprinklings of democracy. We have our elections and stuff, but we're governed by a constitution. So stop talking about democracy, because you're wrong. Second off, all these lefties, Democrats, whatever you want to say nowadays, are talking about democracy, but yet, at the same time, they want it to be that there's nobody else in office and having any power. They want it to just be only them. Democrats in the House, Democrats Senate, Democrats in the Supreme Court, Democrats in the presidency, and that's it. So, you're always so worried about your democracy, but what do you think all that is when you're just a uniparty? That ain't no democracy. Like, seriously?
First thing they do, dictators do, is they disregard whatever the rule of the law is. They just disregard it. Here's the guy who says he thinks he can change the Constitution and ignore it. Just ignore portions of the Constitution. Here's the guy who talks about retribution. Here's the guy, look, you have the thousands of people who stormed the Capitol. They're insurrectionists. 2 cops died. Other people were badly hurt. And what did he say? They got convicted and or they pled guilty. And he said, they're patriots? God, patriots? And he says he's going to forgive them all. Every one of them is going to be released. That's what happens in Eastern European countries.
The irony here, talking about disregarding the Constitution and all this, that's your playbook, Biden. Your whole, I'm going to forgive student debt. That's not constitutional. That's why I got shot down. You can't just do that. Your forced vaccines that you tried to do using OSHA. That's not constitutional. That got shot down as well. What else did you do? Quite possibly even the stay-at-home mandates aren't constitutional. I'm not entirely sure on that. But, you tried to force that. What else? Like, the irony here. This guy, again, pot calling the kettle black, trying to talk about how he wants to disregard the Constitution, which he doesn't. Trump doesn't. He wants to uphold it. He said day one, as a joke, for one day he'd be a dictator, just to fix your mess, you idiot. You are the one that doesn't care about the Constitution or know anything about it. But okay. And then he goes on to talk about January 6th, their favorite day, to constantly talk about, oh, he's going to pardon these people, blah, blah, blah. He calls them patriots. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, they are. They were just people there protesting. They didn't like the outcome of the election. They felt like it was rigged, that Trump actually won, and they were there to protest, which is fine. That's what you're able to do. But it's funny when Republicans do it by going to the Capitol building and just getting like a free tour. Oh, it's insurrections. It's so terrible. Oh, my God. But yeah, when lefties and Democrat people do it and they're burning down a city and completely destroying everything, oh, that's fine. Then it's mostly peaceful and, they're just protesting. No big deal. But when people are literally just calmly walking around and taking pictures of the Capitol building, oh my God, insurrection, it's so horrible. Yeah, those people should be forgiven. If you're going to have these a-holes burning down a city and nothing happens to them, I don't think people that were just walking around the Capitol building should have to be sitting in jail. How does this make any sense?
And the idea that he thinks he can do that, the idea he talks about things like, for example, the idea that he said the Congress wants to pass an overwhelmingly a border provision that would allow us to control the border. First bill ever introduced called for that. And here he's saying, no, don't do that because that'll help Biden. Help Biden? It's not about Biden, it's about the United States of America. And look, I don't want to get started. I really don't.
Yeah. That whole dumb claim about help Biden, that again, I'm not going to cover it. We already went over it. But what I did want to talk about was, again, he lost his train of thought, and everybody starts laughing. Seth's sitting there looking like such an idiot. God, man, you can't remember what you're talking about. Like, what? How is this funny? And again, I don't want to get into it. It ain't because you don't want to get into it. It's because you don't remember how to get into it. You should be getting into it. You're the fucking president. Like, if anybody's getting into it, it should be you. But nope, I don't want to get into it. Because you can't. You don't remember what you're talking about anymore. And then these morons. How is it funny? The whole audience laughing, Seth looking like a complete retard over here cracking up because this guy forgot what he's talking about. Seriously? But then Trump makes a joke with Mercedes, the CPAC host, and all of a sudden, oh, look at him. Cognitive decline. He doesn't even remember his wife's name. Twisting it to create a narrative that doesn't exist. But somebody clearly can't remember what he's talking about. It's so funny. Anyhow, that's about it. The rest of the interview is just them talking about Hamas, which I know a little bit about, but I don't really know enough to properly commentate on. And his response sounds good, but I'm not sure if it's just something that sounds good, but he's not actually going to follow through with it. You know, kind of like how he's talking about the border now because it's an election cycle. Never cared about the border before, but now, oh, I know this is a hot topic. I need to pretend I care so I can get some votes. So I don't know if his response is something like that or what, but it seemed decent enough. There wasn't much I could really pick at. And then after, Seth has some dumb little things that apparently Biden gave him in the past as gifts, and they just try to make some jokes on it. One thing that's funny, though, is one of them was like a train conductor hat that fit perfectly, and he puts it on, and Seth puts it on, and Biden just looks at him like, huh? What am I supposed to do? And it's kind of goofy, and Seth's looking at him like waiting for a response, but of course it's not going to happen. You're talking to a living corpse. But whatever, you want to see it, watch the stupid interview yourself. So yeah, that's it. Of course, it's a whole bunch of horse manure like the last one was with Kimmel. It's kind of sad to see how Seth has gone downhill, because when he was on SNL, he was kind of cool. You know, I liked his Weekend Update, and he always had his thing with Stefan, you know, what's his name, Bill Hader. And yeah, then he got his own show, and I thought it would be cool, and nope, just like all the rest, he turned into this huge leftist shill. I mean, he's not as bad as some of them, I guess. You know, you have John Oliver's terrible, Stephen Colbert's horrible, Jimmy Kimmel's terrible, but he ain't that good either. He's trying to be with them guys. But anyways, yeah, so that's it. I just want to talk about some of this nonsense and break it down to what the reality is, not the propaganda they want to spin. And yeah, until next time, see ya.